Josiah Smith, also known as Master Sword Remix, is a musician and composer who specializes in video games and animation. Debuting in 2013, he got a niche audience by remixing YouTube channels, which allowed him to form a small team to develop his first video game, Undertale Yellow, in 2016. From his work on Undertale Yellow and continuous musical collaborations with 𝐷𝐸𝐴𝐿's Spooky Month animated series, Josiah reached 100,000 YouTube subscribers in December 2023, commemorating a 10-plus year journey of creative endeavors. In this conversation, we jump into talking about specifics of Undertale Yellow, the soundtrack, how it all went down, lessons learned along the way, and what's next for Master Sword Remix. What is your favorite part about creating music?
Wow. I think I think the moment where like you really get the ball rolling on something, like sometimes it can be tough to start a song from scratch, or like when you don't have many ideas, maybe you have like some block or something. But like when you get those first maybe like chord progressions or beat or some like the bass, and you know like this is about to be something like special. I think that's a really good moment, and I love when that happens. So
In the past, when you've had a block, what have you do to overcome it?
um I usually just maybe take a break, or like don't work at on that day or something like that, because it takes some inspiration sometimes just to come from somewhere else maybe. Um, yeah, I've had long periods of time where I've had a block and I've not made much music, and then other times where it's very flows a lot. So, um, yeah, that's not fun when that happens. I don't know if there's any great solution for me.
Have you ever tried just like writing anyway?
Like when there's a block, like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but usually like my motivation's really low, so I just
Got
don't
it.
get far
Yeah.
before I just like tune out.
So it's like you'll start something, but that sort of wave of inspiration that you're riding when it's like really coming through, it's not there to actually push you through all the way to the end. Have I got that right?
Right, right. So like I have several like old projects and stuff that are just like a couple chords or like something. I'm just like, this is nothing. I don't know, and I just quit because I'm just not feeling it that day.
How long did it take you to create the Undertale Yellow OST?
Yeah, so that was done over the entire development span, which was almost 8 years, from February 2016 to December 2023. Um, it was all over the place. We would just make songs sporadically, and it wasn't just me. I made maybe 70% of the OST, but I had help from various other really talented composers and artists. Um, but yeah, it was like just sporadic throughout all the years. Sometimes we made a song in 2016 that didn't get put into the game till 2022, and other times we wrote the song right when we were like making the part in the game, like for it. So it just depend. It was like case by case basis, basically.
Something that struck me was the consistency in the quality of not just the composition, but the mixing and the mastering, the overall feeling of everything. Can you talk a little bit first about the consistency of the mixing? Because those are two very separate processes. Let's
Hmm.
break it into two. Could you talk a little bit about the mixing of
The
getting those?
mixing.
I think it was something like about 103 tracks you ended up doing for the
Okay.
OST.
Yeah. So I'm kind of shocked that it even has any consistency because in so many years of like your talent of mixing abilities will change and grow, and um not to mention all the other artists who use totally different programs with their totally different mixing preferences. Um but yeah, I guess when it comes to my tracks, I guess I would use similar like ways that I mix things. I'd use the same program, Logic Pro, throughout the whole process. So I guess that helps. And I used a lot of similar instruments, and samples and stuff like that. So I guess that makes it consistent. But you said mastering the separate thing. But yeah, I think a lot of that consistency came in the back end, not like during it. So
And when you're talking about being in Logic Pro, using similar instruments, are you also using similar effect chains, similar plugins? Like, did you have like one or two compressors you're kind of using on everything, one or two reverbs, one or two delays that you're kind of just you knew them very well and you were using them around as tools?
yeah, I'd say so. Like I didn't experiment too like crazy. So I kind of just used what I knew when I needed those certain effects or whatever. Um, and I guess that led to some kind of consistency, which is shocking just because it's so spread out.
And when you listen to it and you listen to the mixes, do you hear the consistency? Or as the person who created those tracks, do you still have that sort of weird attachment we get to the music we create for ourselves?
Mm. I the best I can, I hear it, but then there are a couple tracks that I'm like, I
Yeah.
wish this was a little more stereo sounding, a little more spread out. Some of them are kind of more condensed, which that happens a lot with the other artists' songs, which is just gonna happen. But yeah, I think I can pick apart things like that. But like, probably most like non-musicians don't even realize, when it comes to all that stuff. But I'm very like, you know, yeah, I wish it was a little more consistent to me. But oh well.
I always think about mixing and mastering. It's like people who aren't musicians and don't know what that is, they have no clue that it happens. But if it hasn't happened, they're like, oh, this isn't good.
Right. Yeah. Um, and we went back in because okay, we released like 18, maybe 16 or so tracks back in 2016 when we did the demo,
Mm.
to get a feel for everything, and that was when all of our skills were a lot lower, of course. So at the end of the game, I did go back and I remixed a lot of those old tracks to add better fidelity, better stereo spread, whatever it may be. Um, better just like a lot of times I didn't know how to use like a modulation or like a pitch wheel or all that stuff. And I was like, okay, just like spice it up a little bit. Um, so, so yeah, I'd go back sometimes and just retroactively bring things up so I guess that's where a lot of consistency comes to, because if I left them where they were, probably would be a lot more obvious that they were like, there was just no oomph to them. There was no like, because I wasn't using certain like plugins and compressors and stuff like that. So back in the day.
Back of napkin, rough estimate. How many hours do you think you put into creating the pieces for the OST that you created?
I don't know. I don't know. Um, Quite a bit of time, I would say. I mean, a lot of it, I don't even remember making some of the songs. Like it all kind of blends together.
Mm.
But some I specifically do in specific moments of the songs that I really like got some good inspiration. I remember clearly. Um, I know like probably the most popular piece, the final boss theme, which is like 5 minutes long. That took about 3 weeks to finish. Um, because it's basically like three sections that have to loop into each other or go to the next one like smoothly. Um, so that was kind of tough, and that took a while. I worked on that with my brother, who actually helped me make that because he's a pianist. Um, yeah, so that one was very memorable because it just took so long to make. But oh yeah, a lot of them are kind of blurs.
Isn't it funny how sometimes we remember boss fights because of how long it takes us to beat them as gamers, but then also the level of complexity that can go into the music also makes it memorable. As a composer, it's like on both sides of the equation, everyone is
Yeah,
sweating.
yeah. Uh, those are the most important moments, and those are always the songs that people want to listen to the most. Definitely. That's what all the most like streamed songs are, the boss themes. So
Yeah.
you got to put in a lot of work and time into those specifically.
And mastering.
Mm.
What was that process like? Could you break that down?
I absolutely hated that process because I made sure to start really early in the last year of development, because I knew it would take a long time to get 135 tracks to similar volume levels, similar, just to work together. Um, because again, there was like songs from 2016 when I barely knew what I was doing to songs from that year where I was a lot more experienced. And just to get everything to sound similar in any way, it took forever and it was not really fun. I used Adobe Audition to kind of get everything in line and the volume equalized. I don't know, just by ear. I didn't use any specific like metrics or anything. I just like,
Wow, really? You weren't like measuring the LUFS or the anything like that?
not really. I would just go from song to song, like over and over the
Oh my
weeks to
gosh.
months, and just like, does this one sound a little quieter than the other one? Is this one like, I don't know. I know that sounds like a nightmare probably, and it kind of
It
was.
sounds like a nightmare.
There's probably a better way to do it. I don't know. That's how I knew what to do. Yeah, I think what was the most tedious stuff was like all the metadata I had to like fill in
Oh my gosh.
for every track, whoever wrote it, the year it was written. I wanted all that. I didn't want to leave blank. So yeah, really, really fun. It took me a couple months to get all that done, sporadically.
Wow. So yeah, that mastering project, I understand why you said that felt like a lot because I mean, going through adjusting by ear, you're getting ear fatigue, you're super focused, you're remembering audio levels and feelings going back and forth.
Yeah,
You create nine, you get to number 10, you realize there's too much high end in number 10 compared to number two, and then
yeah,
am I getting close to what it was like?
yeah. Pretty much. There was a couple things like that that happened, and some things I couldn't really change because they were mixes. Either they were lost, like the old projects were gone. Um, I still have I think every project I ever made on the game. But the other artists, uh, I couldn't get a hold of them. I couldn't, you can't just like bring up this old project and re-render this, remaster it for this. Like, so I was like, okay, some things I had to let slide. Like maybe an instrument was a bit piercing, but it's like,
Mm.
you know, wasn't a big deal. I think it all worked out fairly well in the end, but it wasn't too fun.
So we talked about the volume. What were you doing like a global EQ on all the tracks as well and just figuring it out by ear? Did you have some type of sense of what the high end, middle, and low end ratios should look like over the entire music for all of the pieces?
Um, it was pretty messy and pretty inconsistent, at least on that end. Um, I don't know. I just would like pick out some of the songs that turned out the best. I'm like, I like how these sound a lot,
Mm.
and then model all the rest kind of around that. Um, and try to get them to match like low ends, high ends, whatever. Um,
Did you do that also for the mixing? You had one or two or three that like you used like your templates, your go-tos, what you were aiming at?
yeah, I think sometimes I did that, because to be honest, I don't know much of what I'm doing. Most of the time, I like wing a lot of what I do. So like a song will just turn out to sound way better than like another one, and I can't really explain why. Sometimes, like one sounds really muddy, one sounds like really good, and I can't figure it out sometimes. But yeah, if I came out with like one or two that I was like, I really love this, I want everything to sound similar to that. Yeah.
Well, that's a fantastic strategy. Uh, to give that strategy a name, we'd call that using a reference mix.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's like that's the go-to for everyone for mixing and mastering is you got to have a reference mix. You need to know what you're aiming at.
Right.
And sounds like
Mhm.
you were doing that. Like, man, what a learn like okay, compared to 2016, we're talking 9 years. How much better are you now at mixing and mastering if you really need to do it than you were then just from the volume of repetitions you got?
Yeah. Oh, night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause yeah, there's still songs like up on my YouTube channel and stuff from all that era and before, and I listen to them and they sound awful to me. And I'm just like, they need this and they need this and they need this. So like I have learned a lot and I know what things need now and like certain plugins that help a lot with like clarity and bringing out like drums and bringing out vocals or if they have that, you know. Um, so yeah, it's the ability has definitely grown a lot.
Yeah, that's huge. So, what plugins do you like to use to bring out vocals? What plugins do you like to use to bring out drums?
So yeah, there's a couple I use for vocals. There's one called shoot, I think it's called 𝐷𝐸𝐽. Uh, it basically is, it's like a compressor thing that you put on a vocal track, or you can put it on any instrument track really, and you can kind of just tell it to press this forward, make this stand out, and it just like does it automatically, and it's really useful. Um, and then for like drums, there's a similar one, but it's like way more involved. It's called I think SSL channel or something like that. And yeah, that like there's tons of presets, there's tons of options and knobs and all that. Uh, and that just makes drums really stick out. It adds like the high ends they need so they don't like blend too far back. And like, yeah, that was been super useful, especially in my like later mixes in the later years.
Yeah, that SSL stuff is fire.
Mm.
And you're using that in mixing, right? When you're like actually putting that on the instruments, or are you using that globally when you're mastering?
Yeah, that's like instrument per instrument, like channel per channel, like during like the in the workstation. So yeah.
And from what you've learned going through this high volume of mixes and mastering, are there any things that you now use in the mastering stage that you didn't before?
Um, Mastering is admittedly where I struggle the most because
Well,
for
like
some reason,
me too. By the way,
yeah, yeah,
you are like 100% not alone, unless you're like top 1% of ears in the world and you have your one room that you've been mastering in for like 10 years and like
yeah,
it, it's a whole thing.
yeah, because like the standard like volume level for all songs are like they're always like 1 or 2 decibels above what I can hit, and I'm just like it's so frustrating. I know that's comes to like all the EQ and compression and stuff, but it's like I can never quite like reach where I want to hit on the volume level, and that gets frustrating, um, especially for like more traditional like real songs out like with vocals and instruments and stuff. Really hard because when you're streaming, you want the songs to sound the same. Um, but I try my best. I try to raise it as far as I can. I do use like a compressor, like a mastering plugin that helps. But yeah, it's definitely my weakest point, I think, when it comes to music.
What mastering plugin are you using these days?
Um, I should have like brought my my notes or something. Uh, you know what? I'll get my laptop right here. Yeah, so I basically make all my music just on a MacBook like this with earbuds. It's it's how I've always done it. It's not very professional. I do have like a more professional like studio space, but I just don't enjoy that workflow as much as just being in my room on a laptop. I don't know. It's kind of strange. Um,
Well, once you put the hours into like a certain place, you like create a state memory inside of
mm,
your mind and your body. Like your body is used to being in a certain place, used to seeing certain things, smelling certain smells, being in a position. And when you do so many reps of being inspired like that, it kind of helps. It's like a recipe, right? You
yeah,
can go
yeah,
recreate the recipe.
yeah. I much enjoy like just using a trackpad to do everything instead of a mouse.
Really?
I don't.
That's so
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. I don't know. It's just like it's more natural for me. So it's called CLA Mixdown. I
Oh
think I
yeah.
got it on Sweetwater on like discount, but like it helps get that final touch of volume. So yeah.
Yeah, that's Chris Lord Algie's
Yep.
plugins.
Yep.
He is something else. And he's got a whole bunch of great plugins.
Yeah.
Ah, that's so cool. And looking back and looking forward, what are you excited about to build on now that you couldn't
Yeah.
do before, that you can do now, or what are you excited to grow into now as a music creator?
Mm. Yeah. I feel like going through that whole OST and other projects I've done over the years, I've just learned a lot of little tricks and just things I like. That it's really helping me nowadays to for what I'm currently working on, just to stay even more consistent to I don't know, I'm really liking where I'm at right now, and not that I've ever arrived, I still have a lot to learn, but um I'm really I don't know. I feel a lot more confident about my music than I did maybe a couple years ago. Um just picking up little things over time, techniques, plugins, you know, it all adds up to, I don't know, just elevate it just another level. And so, yeah, I'm really looking forward to future music because I feel like it's just gotten better. Not to brag on myself, but you know, naturally it gets a little better with time. So yeah.
Musicians are like cheese. They
Yes,
get better with time.
you're right. Yep. I should have pieced that together. I should have pieced that together. Yeah. So my mom was very musical, big songwriter and stuff. She loved doing back in the day. So she raised me and my siblings in music a lot. So I was put in violin lessons when I was like 5. And so I was basically classically trained in that way. I had to learn how to read music and just all the terms and all the everything like that. So that's basically like the roots of it. Not actually, I've let that slip. I couldn't read music nowadays. But I like to do things by ear, as if it isn't obvious. I'm not too into, I think it's fascinating. Like the stuff you were doing on that stream with the music and like telling all the chords that were playing and like picking them out. I was like, I could never do that. That was really impressive. I love to hear that explained like scientifically. It's so cool. But I'm just a much more like freestyle type person. I'm not super like by the books, but I do appreciate that. But I was trained like that, so it helps still today, you know, to have that knowledge in the back of your head. Um, so yeah, but eventually I got into like video games and stuff being a kid. And then there was this game that came out on the Nintendo DS called WarioWare DIY. And they had this, it was where you could like make your own games, your own comics, and then you could make your own music. Had a little like very simple music creation tool. And I think I was 9 or 10 when that came out. And I just got hooked on that. And that's where I started like writing my own little tunes on that like DS game. So that's where I learned more how to like piece tracks together, track by track, and like all that stuff. And I eventually moved over, tried to FL Studio first, and then I moved to Logic. So yeah.
Beautiful. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that you do want to talk about? Are there any hints you want to drop about maybe some projects you have coming up?
Yeah, maybe. I'm always working on the animated series Spooky Month, which is pretty like popular like Halloween animation thing I've been composing for since 2019. And so I've written way too much Halloween music in my day, but somehow I'm still going, and I'm excited for the next episode of that. But other than that, I am working on a specific like special thing that I can't talk about for quite a while until we're at a stage where we want to talk about that and reveal that. But I'm doing the music for it, and I'm very excited. I'm really liking the direction, and the even better consistency, I think, than Undertale Yellow. Really liking how that's turning out. So I'm excited for that, but I can't quite talk about it yet. So
Stay tuned.
yeah.
So, when it comes to Halloween music, you've made so much of it.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the guiding principles you think musically that makes Halloween music Halloweeny?
Yeah, it's a weird gig I slipped into. I didn't set out to do that. I'm just like pretty decent because I've done like a lot of commission work, so I'm like pretty decent at like molding to whatever the person wants me to make. Some things I'm stronger at than others. Some things are easier than others. Of course, like orchestral music's really hard to do without an orchestra, but yeah, I think it's like the typical, a lot of piano, a lot of harpsichord. Um, Sometimes I mix in some like oboes and like, you know, strings, of course. Um, Using strings are really good for like intense moments or building tension or something with like, you know, the little like
Tremolos? Yeah.
the tremolos. Yeah, all the terminology is escaping my brain right now, but yeah, I know what that is. I yeah, so I've had to learn how to like score and like create emotion behind the acting, which is very interesting and something you don't really think about when you're watching media too much. Um, but yeah, and then a lot of times just like insanity, playing with insanity is like really fun. Just frantic, mashing, like literally mashing the keys sometimes and just like creating this panic when it's like scary. It's really fun. Um, yeah, so I guess I'm pretty good at Halloween music. It's really strange.
You getting the reps in, huh?
Yeah, I've made I don't know how many tracks. Oh, definitely over 50. But yeah, and still making more currently.
If someone told you 10 years ago that you would make 50 Halloween tracks, would you believe them?
I'd be like, how? They would all sound the same, you know? And some of them do, but yeah, that is a challenge to like, because like the centerpiece every time is the credits theme. That's
Mm-hmm.
like the big song that's supposed to be like really enjoyable. So it's really hard to like reinvent, okay, how do I do this again? And like make it sound a little different, make it sound unique this time that people will like enjoy it. Yeah, that's always the most tough part.
Uh, yeah, that's a lot of Halloween music. What would you say to someone who's starting out and they want to get their first couple gigs writing music for like an indie game? They want to start getting connected into the scene. What would your recommendations be?
Definitely listen to inspirations. That helps a lot too. Um, like songs that you like, so, like video game songs or whatever that inspire you. Try to pick apart like what makes those work. What do you like so much about those? Um, and not to rip them off, but just to learn from them. Um, and that's what I try to do a lot with like the Undertale music and Toby Fox's work. Um, I'm just like, what do I like about these? Like, why do they work so well? Um, and try to just get inspired by that. And I don't know, it's it takes time though. It does take time. Some more than others, but it takes practice and time, like anything. Um, but yeah, I would just start playing around. That I mean, that's always a good way to just get into it. Is to just mess around um, and also maybe share it with others, get some pointers, take those to heart. Don't get too upset by like people trying to help you, because like back in the day, maybe I couldn't take pointers or criticism as well as I can now. So like definitely be open to that, so you can learn and like go back to the drawing board. It always helps. So
And what would you say to someone who's like they can make music and they want to start getting some work? They want to start getting connected in with some devs. They want to start
mm,
getting their foot in the door. What would your advice
yeah.
be to that person?
It can be tough out there. There's a lot of competition, there's a lot of people looking for that type of stuff. I think, I mean, honestly, like mods and fan projects are a really good way to get your foot in the door on things. Um, Now, would I recommend doing what we did and take, almost 8 years? I wouldn't, I wouldn't, but I would start with like smaller things like that, or game jams, little like, little flash, it is no longer around, but flash game type things. Um, those can be really good practice. Um, I think those low risk type of projects definitely helps build your craft. Um, Maybe working with collabing with other musicians. I think sometimes that I learned the most is when I collabed with musicians that were much more skilled than me. And I was like pretty bad, but they took me under their wing and they like let me work with them, and they would help me along with like maybe things I was struggling at or could be better at. I definitely leaped the most when I would work with more talented people. Um, so yeah, I'd say collabing helps a lot with just improving your skill and like studying under someone who's done it longer than you or whatever. So
How did you find your first gigs?
yeah, so it did take a while, but I found like a niche I really liked at the time, because I was a big fan of like certain like let's play channels and stuff on YouTube, and there was this like very underground scene of like where you would like remix these clips of these people. Like if they would like, it sounds so weird, but it
Oh
was a
no,
bit. It
dude,
was
I watched your hamburger remix. Honestly, that was sick.
which one?
It was some guy eating a hamburger and he found like an onion ring in his
Oh
fries
yeah, yeah,
thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That was Germa, the
Dude,
streamer.
legit, that was hot. That was good. That was
Yeah,
like a fire track.
thank you. Yeah, so like I think some of that stuff started with like back in the day it was like 𝐉𝐸𝐤𝐜 on YouTube would like they would do like auto tune stuff for like news clips or whatever. And that was like
Yeah.
a kind of a big thing that people liked. So stemming from that, people would take like YouTuber clips of them singing or whatever, and they would make songs like full songs out of them. And there's this weird little like fandom of a fandom that I found when I was like 13. And I don't know, I fell in love with those kind of songs, and they were like really they were just earworms. They were always catchy. They were always, it was weird. But I started wanting to make my own of those. So slowly I tried to learn how, and I sucked for a long time, definitely. But after a couple years, I started like getting my foot in the door, getting a little farther, collabing with some of the more popular people in that space. Um,
And was that
definitely
just
like,
coming from like DMs, reaching out, talking to people, sharing things, just like
yeah, yeah,
forums,
yeah,
Reddit?
like,
Was Reddit around back then?
yeah, yeah, sharing to Reddit helped a little bit with like getting my name out there. Definitely. Um, and then occasionally I would make a song that kind of broke through a little bit for the standards of that like space. And then like maybe I'd get noticed by like the actual channel, and then they would like shout me out or something, and then that creates more opportunities. A lot of networking, but also not just staying in one pool. I did a lot of like dipping into other channels. I did a lot of different YouTubers that did different properties and stuff, and that would bring fans from all those people to my channel. And then occasionally I got to work with those channels, and then they would post it to their big channel. I'm saying channel a lot, but yes. And so it would all just build, and you'd network kind of thing. And so I got to work with a lot of different people like that because they would they liked my work, and they're like, oh, he did that for that guy. I know that guy. So I trust him. And so the word spreads around. And so that's kind of how I did it.
So you're doing virtual networking too. So it's not like you were showing up to like a hotel lobby with a name tag on and like you're
Never.
talking to Bob at the coffee bar. Like, no, this is
No, it was all online,
yeah,
just kind of getting my foot in the door with like one creator, and then
yeah.
all of his friends see it happen, and they're like, oh, I want a song like that, or like, and then I would get reached out to, and they would kind of just ping pong around like that. Right now, I'm kind of just going a little under the radar,
Cool.
just working on my own private projects. My YouTube channel's been kind of dead, but that's okay. I'm focusing on maybe game development, maybe something like that. Um, Undertale Yellow is sadly um, something I'm moving on from due to different circumstances, but I'm happy to be where I am, and I'm happy to be working on what I'm working on. So I'm excited for the future.
Beautiful. Master Sword Remix. Appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.